process, myself and a few others here that I'll introduce. John Courtney is with Verity Designs, our recreation architect, and then Dina McCargill with MBS. She is the funding mechanism, I used it. I wasn't going to use mechanism, I'm going to use method or vehicle or whatever you want to call it. It's how you fund things like this, how you get money together to do it. We always told you there'd be 3 meetings, and it would end up with the 3rd meeting, which is tonight, would be the meeting where we talk about that. So Adina's here with us tonight, and then Ron Smith is the general manager here at the district, is going to speak tonight about some of the options. And if you recall, that what we've been doing is trying to define the future of Parks and Rec here in Rosamond. You that have been with us know that we've explained and talked about that just about every evening we've been together, trying to determine what the best way to go forward is. And the board has decided that they want to put it in front of the voters, which is something that the community has basically told us as well. It's put before the voters, but the question has been exactly what? What are the preferences? What is the best set of things to put before the voters? And that's what you, those of you that have been with us, and those that are new now, are part of the process of defining that, or at least telling us what your preferences are so that the board can kind of get an idea, and we can give you some sort of an idea of what costs are, because we know it's not going to be free, it's not going to be without a cost, and so we're seeking those things. Let me knock that over, sorry about that. And so those preferences on amenities, or the things that you put into a park, or the kinds of parks that you might build, or the kinds of things we were talking about the last time. We'll go over some of those. And we'll review a little bit in terms of background for those of you that haven't been with us about the status of parks in Rosamond. But our commitment, and this has been true for ever since I was called and asked to get involved here, is to try to be honest with this. Try to talk about the real costs of things. Try to talk about what that would really mean to individuals in the district and where this is going. Where the bottom line to this is nothing is really going to happen without a vote of the people. It has to go before the voters to raise a tax, so to speak, to be able to pay for Parks and Rec. There is some money that comes in, but it's only from a few people in the district, and it's not enough to really support even what you have now, as a lot of you have told us and know. But we try to be honest and discuss all the options and preferences and be realistic about cost estimates of amenities and how to pay for them. And you're a part of this process, and so we really, really appreciate it. So how many of you are new? The first of the meetings that you've gotten to attend, I think a few of you are, again, I really appreciate, you guys, I know better than that. We really appreciate it. It doesn't matter when you come into this process. It's a public process. Everything that's done in this district is a public process, and that's the way it should be, and that's the way you all want it. So your participating in it really helps the board, who are your elected representatives, to try to drill down on this and get it right, and try to put before the whole community, the voters in the whole community, what might work for them, and then you'll have the opportunity to vote on it. So we'll do a quick review of status, that'd be me, and then the review of the outcome of the process, where it is today. We've been drilling down, and that's why I have this, is way back in the spring, we talked about this, not we, but I talked about, and the universe of options had to get narrowed down. We knew we couldn't afford to do too much, and so we narrowed it down. The board kind of took this process, and the board had a process at the time called strategic planning, and that was kind of the spring and early summer to narrow the number of things that you might be able to do. And then this process has kind of taken it down even further, and we've spent the last 4, 5, 6 weeks together to try to define what that area is in here that might work, or the kinds of sets of options, or a set being what we're calling now an aggregate that might work here, and the cost of each of those aggregates, estimated cost of what it would cost to do it. And so Ron's going to talk about those. And so tonight we're even going to try to take it down a little bit further with a survey of you. We're going to get your input through a kind of a written survey. And then we're going to follow that on with a survey on the district website. We're going to proactively email people to try to get them to participate in that. Again, trying to give the board as much information. But the whole idea really is that we're kind of just narrowing this thing down to what is realistic for Rosamond. And we're hoping that we can get to a set of amenities, and we'll talk about those, that will be reasonable to put in front of you. And Adina is going to talk then about, as well, about the potential funding methods, mechanisms, vehicles, whatever you want to call it. The ways that you might be able to actually fund parks and rec here. And we've talked about the fact that if we're going to do anything, if you're going to do anything as a community, you've got to be able to have something that can support itself and take care of itself. In other words, be funded for what's called O&M, or operation and maintenance, of the pool, or of a park, or whatever it's chosen to be. You've got to be able to take care of it. And that's been part of the problem all along, is you've kind of inherited things that really there's not enough money to really take care of. And so we're trying to get to that point. September 6th was our first meeting of this, and 2 weeks ago the 20th, and that's when we reviewed design options. You remember, we sat around tables and we drilled down and we looked at different ideas, and now we're going to try to finalize at least this portion of the community vision and action plan and try to move it forward. So again, the director board has asked to identify your thinking and preferences in that regard. So just a quick review, Williford Pools have been kept open for 2 years after being closed. You all know that. The cost of keeping the pool open is more than twice the amount of the revenue from the county service area that only about 1,000 people are paying for. And that's been part of the problem all along, is that certain people are paying money every year to basically underwrite that, and it's even that is not enough to really take care of the park and the pool correctly. And so we're trying to see if we can get that fixed. The district won't, though. The board has been very clear. They won't keep open something it doesn't have the money to keep open. And so it can't keep going this way is really the bottom line of that statement. So this process is a means to hear from you regarding that pool park and the possibility of doing more. So we'll talk about those. There are several existing parks, as you all know, the Glendower United. There's this fell site property up by the water treatment plant. There's property next to the district offices. There's some opportunity sites around, should the community decide to develop something new along with taking care of Williford Park. But there's going to be renovation and maintenance costs, even if what you collectively decide, and the board eventually decides that it's just going to, even for Williford Park, it needs work. We all know that. Everybody knows that. Any new site improvements will have added costs, of course, for site readiness and improvements, and then maintenance costs. In the past, there have been some polls in the community that said they're ready to kind of at least consider improving and maintaining parks. Public meeting in June, for those attending, eventually got to the point where they said, let's let the public decide. Some of you were at that meeting. The board has said the same thing, but they want the public's input. The board and those in the public meetings have discussed some boundaries, and that was this process is trying to say, where is that right set? We're still working on that. And then we went through, I should say September 6th and the 20th, both of those meetings, we're trying to narrow those down and say what's reasonable. So that's what this process is. No need to go over that again. Remember this set, this is kind of where we started. The first meeting came up with some of these things, some of these ideas, and then we narrowed them down, taking care of the community park and pool, and extended season usage, which would actually include covering that pool and use it for all year, which is on one of the choice points involved tonight. A pump track or a skate park, picnic area, dog park. You can see right on down the line some of the things that we've talked about as a group. And so, last meeting on the 20th, we drilled those down and kind of looked at some of the options. You remember you were able to look at some of the maps and put those together. Park site, maybe next to the district, maybe someplace else, but there could be a potential skate park or a pump track, you know, where there's dirt and there's hills and kids ride their bikes over it, that kind of thing. There's property next to the district. These are all potential, mind you. A potential new community park. It was about, what, that 6 acres, a new park in the community, which would be a whole new site, which would be one of those opportunity sites potentially. All of those are some of the options that have been developed. Now, if you remember last time we took all these and we had some numbers on the wall. If you recall, we had lots of backup data, and that was our first run of the cost. Now, since then, we've worked really hard to put these together and sharpen the pencils on the cost. And so, Ron, you were going to talk a little bit about the middle. Laser. Okay.
Hey, thanks for everybody's coming here. I've heard from staff and also from our consultants that it's been some really good discussions, and you guys have really contributed to our whole thoughts. So what we did was John did a great job of budgeting what each item would cost. But as you know, if you budget it, and his budget, if you're going to do amenity A, there's permitting, grading, plans, plumbing, restrooms, everything. Well, for amenity B, there's the same thing. So aggregating the different amenities actually saves you a lot of money. So what we were thinking of, and I'll use this pen right here, is we do have like a close to a 10-acre. We have 2 different properties that are close to 10 acres. So we were thinking of trying to also leverage some other money if you came here and did the park in one side with certain amenities, right? This is if you're going to have a new 6-acre park. Here you could leave some of this property for future expansion, but if we could maybe leverage and get some transportation dollars and everything, we could maybe turn this into a parking ride for the community that's going into Edwards Air Force Base or going down the hill. So that would be just something extra besides our 6-acre park. So what we did was we went through and we looked at all the discussions that you've had, and we looked at some big ticket items of what we could plant within a park, and then how much it would cost. So these are some of the things, but I want to show you the chart when we get over to it. So we picked items that were similarly priced, and then you're going to be able to choose some of them, what you would prefer in each of the options. So then we sharpened our pencils and we got down and we said, for capital improvement costs, what is it going to cost to do X? Every one of these options has Wilford Park being fixed up, pool replastered, redoing the tennis courts, redoing the basketball courts, fixing up the landscaping, you know, doing the parking lot, getting it all up to snuff and keeping it open, okay, in the summer like we do now. So each of these options has that. But then if we're going to go and do a little bit more, each of these options have different amenities. So what we did was we took each option, we calculated what the capital improvement would cost. You're going to do that capital improvement, you have to take a loan out. It could either be an internal loan from the water or the sewer, or we could go out to like CSDA and get like a 4% loan. It was based on a 4% loan. That would cost you about $45,000 per year per $1 million of capital improvement. So that was put in, and I'm going to show you the chart after Adina talks to you. That was put into the chart of what we call debt service. So if you did a 30-year loan, what are we going to pay every year for making those improvements? And then we drilled down even farther and said, you need operations and maintenance. And that's something that the district never counted on. Remember, they took a $3 million loan, they built a bunch of stuff, but then that money runs out. And then you'd have no money to pay employees, to buy the chlorine, to run the filters, you don't have anything. So every one of these options has operations and maintenance drilled into it. So then we got the final price tag of each of these budgets, and they're progressively gets more and more expensive. Okay? 4 options, cheapest one, all the way to the more expensive one. Once we got that price tag of what it would cost per year, then we said, what do we need to go out to the property owners or one of those products, either a CFD, a uniform property tax, what's the price tag to get to that level? So instead of 1,000 people paying for this, we have approximately, once these new homes get up, we have approximately 7,200 properties, undeveloped and developed properties, that would be taxed uniformly. So then we said, okay, what would that tax per year have to be on the property to get X amount of dollar for option 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay? So what I want Adina to talk to you about right now, just so you understand, when we're looking at these price tags, there's different funding mechanisms that we can go out for, and so she's the expert at that. She's going to talk about the different funding mechanisms. We're not really asking you to decide which one. That's going to be a board decision, and then ultimately it's going to be a voter decision on the ballot box. So go ahead.
Thank you all for coming tonight. The main discussion we're going to have tonight is obviously you're looking for both park facilities, ongoing maintenance, and then facility improvements. So what we're going to discuss tonight is just a little bit of difference in terminology, specifically for taxes and assessments, and a few funding mechanisms under those categories, and why some are maybe a little better than others in this situation. First of all, with taxes versus assessments. With taxes, you have a little bit more flexibility. They're allowed to be more general in nature. These are still going to be a specific purpose tax, meaning they're going to go specifically for the parks. So those are called a special tax. But again, there's a little bit of a more flexibility in the formula of how you create that and the equality for those. With assessments, you have to have compliance with Proposition 218. Two specific areas that make assessments a little bit complicated are the fact that Prop 218 defines special benefit versus general benefit, and we're only allowed to assess property for special benefit. So special benefit is particular and distinct benefit over and above general benefits conferred on real property located in the district or to the public at large. So these quantifications are really complicated. They require really big studies. They're expensive, time-consuming, and at the end of the day, there's still required a quantification and separation of general benefit. That general benefit portion has to be paid for by district general funds, of which there aren't any. So it puts us in a situation here where the district would still not really be able to fund whatever park options are selected by the community. So revenue tools under those two general categories of taxes and assessments, Community Facilities District, or CFD would be a term in here, special benefit assessments, and then special uniform parcel tax. So we'll go over Community Facilities District a little bit first. These are not benefit-based, meaning the way that you charge each parcel isn't based on a specific benefit that it's receiving from whatever improvements it's funding. It does still require reasonable metrics. It does achieve local goals and policies. And you can vary the rates by land use in this type of a category. It is a special tax, so its approval mechanism is 2/3 of the registered voters. It is also a longer formation timeline, and so it is a little bit higher of an encumbrance compared to a parcel tax, which is similar vehicle. It's also a special tax, but it's a little kind of in between that and an assessment. The net additional revenue is minimal. Benefit-based special assessments. Again, the big issue here is going to be the general benefit component, which means dollars, and the rigor of assessment engineering, meaning all of the extra studies that have to be done, all of the analysis that has to be done. You have to look at usage and patterns of traffic and all sorts of things in comparison to the parks and the properties located around it. So it's expensive, it's complicated, it's ongoing. Every year you have to go through a much more rigorous process of getting it approved and budgeted for and assessed. The approval mechanism is a property owner vote instead of registered voters. Which may be the same. It's a protest ballot, meaning that we need more no votes than yes votes. So if nobody voted, it passes. If one person votes yes, it passes. If one person votes no, it doesn't. So it's weighted on dollar amounts of the assessment. If one of you has a $100 assessment, you basically have 100 votes compared to somebody who has a $20 assessment. Who gets basically 20 votes. So it's weighted differently. And they only count returned ballots. So again, if nobody votes, it technically passes. Again, the big con here is also going to be the issue of funding, because it has to come from non-assessment revenues, any portion that's general benefit. Recent court cases within the last 5 years have made these very difficult and have basically stated that any public improvements have to have some amount of general benefit. You can't say, because it's, you know, district-wide, everybody receives benefit, so we're going to fund it all this way. The court has thrown out that argument, and you have to assign some general benefit to it, of course, which means it has to come from other funds and other revenues that the district doesn't have. So we don't want to be in a situation where we are today, where we can't really keep the pool open because we can't fund it 100%. So, special uniform parcel tax gets us to where we have reasonable metrics for how we assign it. In this case, all property would pay a uniform rate. The approval mechanism, again, it's voter approved, and you have a 2/3 requirement. Uniform rate may net less revenue, so that just means we could choose a different type of rate where maybe commercial parcels were taxed heavier. In this case, that's not really a benefit for the district, and it doesn't necessarily, you know, help anybody. So uniform rates, keeping it simple for the voters, keeping it simple for the community, not discouraging businesses. A uniform parcel tax is really the best option here. And while we'll have another question and answer in a couple slides, we wanted to give you all an opportunity right now, in case you had any specific questions on the funding mechanisms. Yes, sir.
What happens if we turned it back to the parks, to the county? Would they be forced to maintain West Park?
No, they're gonna fill it through.
But would they maintain the park? Resurface the basketball,
Don't know, they might just bulldoze the whole thing. The feeling I have is that is a possibility that doesn't get voted on. If we don't pass, the board has already given direction. If we don't get some kind of funding mechanism, we will give it back to the county.
Right.
Yeah.
But you
So,
got any idea what the county would do with it?
I know they'll fill the pool with dirt.
Well, they already did that once, we know that.
What's that? Yeah, and, you know, they might maintain a little bit, or they might say it's not worth it. I don't know what they're gonna do with it, you know? And that option is not on the table for our discussions here, and when we go to the board has already said they want that decision to be made by the community. So we're gonna put it out to the community, because, you know, the board can sit there right now and say, hey, let's not even mess with all this, let's just give it back now, right?
Well, that's the way we feel, that we feel like it hadn't been being messed with, it's being maintained just for, to say the least, you know? Having the pool open for a couple months of the summer,
And,
you know, it's very expensive for the lion's share that's paying for it, West Parkers.
right.
The 490.
So this method here, and you can see the funding mechanism
Right.
and stuff, what is West Park paying, 130, 140, what's it on your tax?
Right, but it's more than all the rest.
Absolutely, right. So now when you spread that wealth around,
Well, I know,
you know, then it's
Yeah.
gonna be, so, but no, so the topic of let's not do anything is not on the table for the.
well, it was been on the table all the last two meetings, why isn't it on the third meeting?
No, it's not on the table of one of the choices, okay? The
By
board-
virtue of whom?
The board. The board has already said, we're going through this process to get input, to take it to the voters. Once they take it to the voters, if the voters say yes, then we'll have a funding mechanism to clean up the park and do all this stuff. If the voters say no, they've already decided that it's gonna go back to the county. But because the community, because the surveys, because the board says, we want the community to decide, not just a small group, but all the voters to decide, to have that opportunity, that's what they're gonna be doing. And the option is on the table of doing nothing once it's taken to that vote.
Well, excuse me, but Brent, wasn't it discussed in the other prior two meetings?
That's certainly,
That definitely came up both of the other two
It
meetings.
came up, absolutely, but I
Right.
remember I've always told you that the board wants to take this to the
But
people.
it seemed to me like the going consensus was there wasn't enough money to fund it, nor will there be enough money, the way things have been going.
Well, if you wait until we get to the funding part, you can
Right.
see what we've done. You can see that, you know, most all the funding mechanisms is less than what you're paying right now. And so let's get to the funding so you can actually see what the funding is. You had like a shop.
But Ron, we've been paying for something to be done and it hadn't been fixed to begin with. It hasn't been being maintained. How are we supposed to fill? Tell me that.
Absolutely.
You're not paying that, I am,
Absolutely.
okay?
And it's not
For
fair.
22 years, I've been paying for it to be maintained, and it's been going downhill, just like the landscaping that you guys were maintaining went downhill, you know? And they're Band-Aiding that, trying to put it back together, and it's very expensive.
Absolutely.
You know?
And the board's direction when I came
So
on.
this should be a water district, not a park district.
And you know what, that's
I'm done.
a choice of the people to take
I'm
the
done.
voters.
And that's a
The
good,
money going, the money that's being collected from the West Park Rec, where is it going?
It's
just
going
not
to the
enough?
pool, so let
it's
me.
going to keep,
It's being wasted.
to keep that,
So-
to keep that pool.
It's been wasted for years. They've been stealing our taxpayer dollars. And you can't deny it. You can't deny it. You got leaks over there and you haven't fixed it. You got excuses.
They're fixing the leaks now.
They're fixing it now.
Yeah.
Great. Now, how'd the lawn look for the last month? Brown on one side, green on the other. That's a hell of a way to manage. You're a great manager.
So what happens is, when I came on, I've been on for 2 years. When I came on, the pool had already been shut down again, right? So the pool had been taken over by the county. It started off as a CFD from KB Home, right? And then KB Home didn't want to do it. They didn't build all the homes. They were supposed to build 1,000 homes. They built 500, well, 499. So they gave it over to the county, and that became what was called a CSA, a county service area. So the county started collecting taxes from every property owner in West Park and also some other homes out here. It's about 1,000 properties is what they collect. So the total amount of money that's collected is only around $112,000 a year. Well, it cost us $275,000 last year to open the park and maintain the park and do everything. So when I came on, the board says, do what you can, see if you can get the pool open again. We had some extra dollars because the pool wasn't open before. We did landscaping a little bit differently, and we cleaned up some of it. We got rid of some other CSAs, so we were able to keep the pool open for 2 years. But I had told them there's no more reserves in that pool fund to keep it open again, right? So their direction, the board's direction is, let's take it to the people. Let's see if we get something passed, and if we get a revenue stream that's coming in, then we can actually keep the pool open, maintain it, fix it up, and do some other money. So your question is, where did the money go? It went all in that park. And the district forked over extra money to maintain it and take care of it. So we get what's called ad valorem money. It's some property tax. It's very, very small. It's about $140,000 a year. So that tied with $112,000, we were able to, we're paying off a park loan that the district took out years ago that it disappeared. They were using it for operations, but if there's no revenue stream, you just run out of money. It's like a bank account, right? You know, if you're not working and you have a bank account, you're making your house payment, pretty soon you're going to run out of that money, right? And that's what happened. So that's what the
Pools
board.
are just very expensive.
Parks are very expensive.
And that's really.
Right. So the board decided to take the majority of all their ad valorem money and put it towards trying to get the park open and maintaining it. But it's not enough money to do it. So in order to do it, then the board has decided, let's go to the people. Every board member said, and a lot of people during the public meetings have said, take it to the people. And if the people don't want to vote for it and the people don't want to pay for it, then give it back to the county. And get out of, like he said, get out of the parks business and just be a water and sewer district and street lighting and water and graffiti abatement. So that's where we are now. So if we could go into the funding mechanism so you can see how much, so people at West Park, and I don't know, what was it, what is it, 130, 140? I don't have it in my mind. What's your tax?
This is under 130,
So it's about 130?
right?
Okay.
Just under,
Okay, just like 129, 127,
something like that.
Okay, good. So, can we go to my one slide?
Yeah.
So, well, don't put it on yet, don't put it on that. So, yes?
I had a question. I know this won't serve, like solve the long-term thing, but is there any success rate in fundraisers in general, or even like an annual fundraiser to help the cause and get the community more involved and excited about it?
Yeah, it's just that you would raise
Never
enough money.
tried it, or at least just to help a little bit, or at least to get the community involved more,
Yeah, I
'cause,
mean,
you
there's
know,
lots of different things they've done, but you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars in a small community.
Yeah,
So it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And then that's not a guaranteed revenue stream.
right,
So
right.
if I don't have a guaranteed revenue stream, I can't take out a loan. It's like like if you went to the bank and said, I want to buy a house, my friends are going to chip in every year and make my house payment. Well, what if they stop? No, but what if they stop?
Right now, can at least it help a little bit to get the community more involved and excited?
Well, that's what we're doing here. No, but that's what we're doing here. We're trying to get the community involved. This election will probably go sometime in March. And if it goes in March, then we're going to know, can we keep the pool open and can we expand and do what we're supposed to? So let's go back to what you guys have been working on and a lot of the good ideas you had. So what we did, like I said, is that by aggregating the parks, by taking and saying not just a skate park, a standalone skate park, not a walking park alone, not a kiddie park alone, but putting them within a 6-acre park, you're able to reduce the cost of building it and also maintaining it. So we were able to, so we looked at different products, and this doesn't mean that ultimately that's exactly what's going to be built. There's a lot of little ideas that the community had that were really good, like a splash park for the kids, or a moonwalk, looking at the stars, or some other thing. Senior classes. There's a lot of stuff you can do that once you have that revenue stream, and once we have the park built, we can do a lot of other things. Once you have that. So what we did was we looked at an aggregate, and like I had said, Williford Park is that. Yeah, I don't want that one at all right now. Okay. So what we looked at is, on all the costs, and I'm going to bring up the cost for you. I don't have the individual cost of each thing, but we put it together as one big price. So take Williford Park and fix up everything that we're supposed to. In other words, fix up some of the landscaping, resurface the basketball courts, resurface the tennis courts, replaster the pool, fix up the deck, get everything, redo the parking lot, and get it back up to where it's supposed to be, and open the pool every year with a program, where we're opened up during the summer. Sometime at the end of May and closing sometime around May. That's in every single option, okay? So then, we added to that option, go ahead and you can put my slide down. So, Williford Park was this. So then we said, okay, if we added a dog park, a small dog park at Williford Park, took a small section of it, and you fence it up, you have the little watering holes, and you have all that stuff, so we can have a dog park. And then we built a skate park here at our water sump that's right next door. You can see that little indention area. That's to catch storm water, but we can use that also to build a skate park. So if we did that, that would be, oh no, back. There you go. That's option one, okay? Option two was everything I said about Williford Park, except the skate park and the dog park. We fix up Williford Park, and then we build a new 6-acre park. And with that 6-acre park, we get covered picnic areas, we get an exercise walking area, and then you can pick one of two different options. And they're both similar in prices. You're going to be able, and tonight you're going to decide, give me an idea of what you guys would really like. It could be a kid's playground or a dog park at the new park. And then you can also have either a skate park, I'm just going to say rather skate, just remember skate/bike, skate park, or an amphitheater for like concerts in the summer, or community, whatever they want to do. That would be option two. Then we did option three, which is Williford Park again, build a 6-acre park, and put all those amenities in it. All the amenities, which would be exercise park, covered picnic grounds, kids playground, dog park, skate park, and an amphitheater. So then we said, if we go a little bit more funding, we could do option three completely, and then have a choice of one other option. Either cover the pool, so we can keep the pool open all year round, or build a paintball park. And so when I drew this here, if the people voted for option 4, with the paintball park, this could be the future paintball park, right? So what we did, you can see here, CIP stands for the capital improvements. These are the costs of doing all of that. So Williford Park is right there, $600,000 to pick up Williford Park. That's about $27,000 a year for debt service. And to run that park with the pool and everything for the summertime, it's a total of $375,000. So we need $402,000 a year to do that park. And as I said now, we don't have that money. We don't have the money to fix up the park and maintain it. So then we said, okay, let's add the dog park and the skate park. That would be 1.3 million. That's your debt service, and that's your O&M, stands your operation and maintenance. And that comes out to 84,220. You can see now the total with Willowford Park, because each one of these will have Willowford Park added to it. The 6 acre park is just addition to the Willowford Park. So that one, just Willowford Park, is option 1. Fixing up Willowford Park and adding a skate park here. No new 6 acre park. That's at 486,220. Option 2, which you said the options, I'm going to give you a sheet tonight. We're going to give you a sheet with those options. It's just a little over 800,000. Option 3, where you get all those amenities, is 897,000. Then you have alternative A and B. If you want a covered pool, it's not as much. It's only about 876,000 to cover the pool. But if you cover it and you open up all year long, you got lifeguards all year long, pool manager all year long, electricity in the pumps, you got heating, you got chlorine, you got all that stuff. So we added, it's a lot more for operations and maintenance, $225,000 a year extra above what we're paying. So that would come out to about $1.136 million a year if you took that option A, okay? Option B for 4 is build a paintball park instead over there, okay? And then that would be that much. So then what we did was we said, if that costs us, here, I know, one of those laser pointers. That's good. Oh, does it work?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Right in the middle.
Well, that's what you meant. I thought I was supposed to zap that. Okay, so here's option 1, and that's the cost. Option 2, option 3, and either option 4A or option 4B. So then with that amount of money that we say, this is how much we need a year, we kept it simple and said, let's just pretend we're doing a uniform tax, because that's the easy mathematics on it, to be able to get each of those options. So go ahead and scoot over. You can scoot. There you go. Okay, so option 1 that we talked about, $69 per parcel would give us $496,800 a year approximately. That's right in the range that we need. Option 2, $114 per parcel. Option 3, $129. And option 4A or B would be $159. So West Park is paying about $127. If they wanted to pay a little bit more, but have a new 6 acre park with all the bells and whistles and really nice, that would be it. Or you could be like $114 on, we fix up the pool, we keep the pool open, we fix up everything, and we build a 6 acre park with a possible dog park, skate park, exercise course, picnic areas, and all that. So what we would like you to do tonight, this is the time we're going to, if you have any other questions, John's here, or you can talk to Alice if she wants some more detail, is how we calculated it. We took the fully burdened employees, we figured, you know, do we get a pool manager, we have a parks department, we have all those things, what is it going to cost us per year? And when I say fully burdened, it's just not the hourly rate of people, but you know, we pay benefits and workman's comp, and we pay, you know, all Social Security, we pay those things. What is it going to cost us a year to run each of these parks, the way it's set up? And so that's all tacked into that total amount of money that we need. So the options, what I want you to do tonight is I have a sheet for it. Does anybody have any questions for John on more details about how we figured out the capital improvements or how we figured out the operation maintenance? Yes?
Is this all the properties in all of Rosamond and that actually pay taxes now? And how do you?
It would be.
How do you account for all the apartments?
It's a property tax assessment.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's every uniform property. The one that Dean was saying before, if you did a CFD, it's a little bit harder, it takes a lot more time, there's a lot more to go with it, and time is of the essence for this. The board has says they want to go to a ballot as fast as they can, because we have a pool to open next year, and if we don't have money, it's not going to open next year, and we want to get it open. If you did it that way, you could charge a little bit more for the apartments, and a little bit more for commercial, a little bit less for undeveloped property. If this was a larger community where you had Costco's and you had all this other stuff, it was more like Lancaster, we might go with a CFD because we might get in more revenue and do it in a little different way. But we've been talking and said it's probably going to be a uniform tax because that's the one that is the easiest to make sense. Because the other one, we're going to do all that work and probably not going to get that much more money or any difference. So this uniform tax per parcel, that would be across instead of the 1,000 people that have parcels now, the West Park homes, and there were some Beezer homes and some other ones. There's 499 in West Park, and you have some about 501 more homes over here. That you're going to spread it around the whole community now, including undeveloped property, you know. And the thing for undeveloped property, and Terry's a realtor, if you're going to build homes here in Rosamond, and you come here, and there's no parks, and there's nothing for kids, and there's all this other stuff, you're going to go, I think I'm going to go build in Lancaster, right? Or Palmdale, or Santa Clarita. So it actually adds values to everybody's property. And you can see, I mean, what, you're talking here, even this price tag here, $159, which is the highest amount. How much is that? A cup of McDonald's coffee a week? That's about what it is. That's what we're talking about for the community. Do you want to give up a cup of coffee a week to have a full-blown, wonderful parks program for your kids and your families? And that's what the voters are going to have to decide on. So what I want to do now is, there's two options, and I'm going to give you the sheets. Go ahead, you can pass them out. We have the explanation there, but you can see on the next page, and let me get, John, can I have one? I'll take that. I'll take those. I'm going to get my glasses.
Thank you.
We didn't hand out the one that, oh, you got the one, yeah. The one that was filled out. Yes, we filled them all out for you ahead of time. Just sign them and date them and send them back to us. Okay, so this gave you, the explanation that I just gave you is there at the top. Now this here explanation, this is not something that's set in stone and saying, this is what we're going to do. This is an example of how we can use the money the best way we can. Ultimately, what's going to happen is once it passes, it's going to be similar to something like that, but we might get a grant for an exercise area, right? So hey, we don't have to spend money on that, we can spend money on something else and build something else better, right? So it's vice versa, or we might find out, hey, the skate park's costing a little bit more money, we have to give up something or move something else in there like a splash pad, and so, but this gives you a good idea of what it could look like, okay? So your input, if we picked option 2, okay? If you went with option 2, you get 2 choices that I want your input. The first choice is, would you want a kid's playground or would you like a dog park? Which one would you prefer?
Dog park.
So just check one for us. And this is going to go out to the whole community. We're actually going to do a phone poll, we're going to do an email poll, we're going to get an internet poll, so we can sort of get an idea of where people are and where people are on the price point. You know, how much are the property owners really willing to pay to get all those things? The other one that I want the input for option 2 is, would you want a skate park or an outdoor amphitheater? So just check one of those. Does everybody have pens and pencils? Okay, I'll go grab some. Let's see. You want to cut this down? Thanks. If you want to keep the pen, you can keep the pen. You know, it's a free advertising. So if you could, check one of those off. Then when you turn over on the back, if we picked option 4, would you want an enclosed year-round pool or would you want a paintball park? And that would be on option 4. So we can just sort of get an idea of what the flavor is, you know, of these different options. Tell me when you're all done with your marking. So you got the 2 options here to pick one of those, and you got one of those right here. Got 3 choices. Did you come to every meeting?
No, I had a trade meeting, that's right.
Oh, that's okay. I'm glad you made it to this one. So, how's your community center or tent or whatever the thing is?
Coming together.
Coming together? Good. And the amphitheater is something different than what you guys do. It's like you have a little stage and dance too.
Oh, that's what we're planning.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. price tag next to them. So option 1 is $69 a year, and it says what the amenities were. Option 2 with the price tag and the amenities. Option 3 and option 4. What I'd like you to do is put a 1 by which option you would prefer, and consider not only the amenities, but also what's the cost of it per property. Balance that out in your minds if you could. So put a 1 by your preference, put a 2 by your second preference, a 3 by your third preference, and a 4 by your last preference. And then we also left places for comments. The property owner is going to pay. The way they tax you pay taxes on the lot. I don't think it's the same. I don't think that parcel tax goes to that. It goes to the property. Because like if I'm going to lien, if somebody has a mobile home park has a bunch of bills that they didn't pay, I lien the real estate. Because that's what it's, even if a meter is attached to your mobile home, it's considered attached to that ground, that real estate. So I don't think so, but if you want to call me anytime. Oh, you can answer that? Oh, why didn't you just raise your hand faster? She let me talk like an idiot there for a second. Okay, Gina.
So he's correct in that it's going to depend on how the property owner has filed their information with the county. So the property tax bill you receive is most likely for the mobile home itself, because that's what you own. There's a possibility that the property owners could assign what's called a possessory interest parcel number, meaning that you also pay a real small amount for that lot. In all likelihood, what's happened is they just have one big lot with all the spaces. In that case, it would get the one price for that whole big lot.
And my understanding with this district, I won't guarantee it, is that every mobile home park that we have in the district is under the first scenario that she says. It's the property owner, and you pay some sort of mobile home tax because you're there, but the property owner is going to be having to pay for that, the whole thing.
So
I won't guarantee it, but I think that's what it is for every mobile home park out there, because that's how we do the water bills.
So they assess the land as one parcel, and the park owner gets that, and then they assess each individual mobile home as the structure value, and that's what you pay your property tax on for that.
Because if they were adding this amount to my property taxes that I pay every year, then I'd say, great, let's go for the whole thing, because I could do that. I could just save my pennies. But if that's going on to the parks thing, they're going to raise it $100 a person, you know. That's going to be expensive per month.
Somebody has said before, you have people that say, hey, well, the property owners are paying for it, right? It should be, but the voters are voting on it. Well, guess what? If I'm renting a house and the landlord's taxes go up $114 a year, what's going to happen to my rent or the rent? It's a businessman, right? Sooner or later, the taxes are going to be incorporated in doing business. So the renters end up paying, if the water bill, if water is part of your rental, right?
I pay that.
And you don't you do rentals, Terry? So I mean, all the costs get sooner or later ends up in the person who's using the property, in the long run. So like I said, it's a good benefit. Anybody have, yes?
I still have a question. So now on this mobile home park, there's one big property, and he has all this income, and he's gonna pay, what, $69, like I'm gonna pay on my vacant land down the street here? Does that really seem fair?
No, that's the uniform tax. The board can decide to do some kind of benefit assessment, but like she explained, if you do the benefit assessment, that's good for a city because you have a general fund, and we don't have a general fund. So there's pros and cons for all of it. On your vacant land, you're saying you're paying $69, but like I said, if you want to sell that vacant land, if you want to build some homes and everything, and you have no amenities in the community, who wants to develop here? Well, if you have something that's valued, they even show that in cities in their studies, that like you do an arts program within a city, the property values go up. And so I think it's good. I think there's lots of studies that show property values go up when you have a good parks program.
Yeah, so the little lot's gonna cost $69 or $159, whatever people vote for it. And the 40 acres is gonna pay the same fee. I mean,
Why wouldn't it be, why
It's
wouldn't the
just
price
really
go
unfair.
by the
size of the property or the size of?
It's a type of special tax it is, that's what. It's set in the California code. It's under the California laws.
It's the simplest form, is really what it is.
So-
It doesn't seem, it doesn't, you know, whether it's a property of X amount of acres or only half an acre, it's pretty much the same. And that's why it's called uniform, but it doesn't make it, doesn't, you know,
Right.
it's just.
So we only have certain choices
Yeah.
under the government code to assess properties or set fees. So, but that's not for a discussion here as much except for information stuff. The board still they haven't made a decision on how they're gonna go out for a vote. You know? And so they're gonna talk about it and they're gonna decide what's gonna be, we gotta be successful at this, otherwise we're not gonna have much of the parks program or any at all, So any other questions about the questionnaire? There's places for comment if you wanna leave some comments. You can always come up to us and leave your comments also, and we'll write them out, you know. So what you've done tonight and what you've done this whole time, we've taken it as input so we can create something to take to the board, and we're gonna use it to create the staff report. And say, after we've done a public poll, after we've done the 4 meetings of the public input, after we've taken stuff from the internet, after we've done the research, we think, and the public poll's gotta tell us, when you do a school bond, the same thing, you go out to the public with a school bond, so you can find out what will the public vote for, right? Now, if you want parks in this community, you gotta go out there and put a price tag on it that the people are gonna go, okay, yeah, I can vote for that. Because we could go out there and say $500 per parcel, right? You think it's gonna pass? Probably not. But, like the people in West Park are paying $127. If the price tag was $114, you think everybody would vote for it to lower their taxes? Maybe, you know? And so that's what we're looking at too. We're trying to get a feel, because when we put it out to the ballot of the people, we just don't want to do it just to do it, because we didn't have to go through this process, right? We could have 7 months ago said, you know what, let's get $150 a parcel and we'll bill with it whatever we want, and let's just take it to the people. Well, that's never going to be successful. We need the public input so we can craft something that is going to be successful. Any other questions on the questionnaire, or any other comments you want to make? Yes.
Well, I'm just wondering, like, you know, when a 6 acre property, you guys are planning on buying, or?
No, we own it. We own the properties. Yeah.
Okay,
We
well,
own,
okay.
up here on Feldside, we own 8.2 acres. This one I sort of have envisioned, we haven't decided, that's to decide what we're going to do in the future, you know, where we're going to build this. This one here is over on 25th and Orange, and like I said, something that City of Lancaster has done and other cities have done is that if you can get some of the kind of, you know, say we get it from the county, some kind of transportation dollars, you could pave this and put street lights and everything on there, or parking lot lights, because a lot of people right now, they're parking in Albertson's parking lot and they're carpooling into Edwards Air Force Base, or carpooling to Palmdale, or carpooling to Lancaster. We could add that community thing, and it doesn't come out of the parks budget. You know, we can have, well, you know, maybe the street sweeping would, but building it and maintaining it, not much for a parking lot, and that would add something else to the community right there by the park. And then we can have a little vacant land. So we have 10 acres. Instead of just, I was thinking, and this is just an idea, instead of just building 6 acre park, let's utilize the land that we have there, since we're going to be building it all at the same time. So that's just one idea. There's lots of different ideas that we could do. We could do the 8.2 acres over here in Feldside, do something with that, maybe make a little bit bigger park, a little bit more grass area. Not completely sure, but the items that you had today was sort of an idea. This is what you could do, this is what the price tag would be, and this is what we have to go to the voters with. So any other questions, any other input? Yes?
So, revenue for like, say like the paintball park, and like, you know, people, would they pay to get in, or would it be more free? Like, are there ways to like get, you know, income from those properties?
You could, and when we calculated what's called the operations and maintenance, we calculated that we would have some revenue stream coming in, but you can't guarantee a lot of it, so then that would balance off and pay for some of the employees. But like the pool, we have fees for swimming lessons and everything. We brought in, I forgot how much, the year before that we brought in like $18,000, right? Well, $18,000 wasn't enough to pay for all the employees, right? So a paintball park wouldn't take as much, you have some maintenance and everything, so it's sort of it's a balance. So all these things, just think of the programs we could do. Say you have a senior Tai Chi class in the morning, right? Well, if we have instructors that are going to get paid by the people, you sign up and it's like $10 for, 6 weeks of Tai Chi. And you get 20 people that signed up. Now you have an instructor that comes and does it. It doesn't cost the RCSD any money. And we have a program. There's tons of partnerships that we can do like that put on a lot of different programs that we can do. But we can't do it if we don't have a park, we don't have a revenue stream to actually be able to do it. And so so there's lots of great ideas, and John had amazing ideas when we walk around the park together. But that's what we do. We need to get
Talk a little bit about grants too. When you have
Oh,
some
yes.
money coming in, then those that give grants are more likely to fund it. So you might have a better opportunity to gather money from outside, whether it's
Absolutely.
transportation money
I'm
in
glad
this
you brought
case,
that up. Yep.
or grants or something like that.
So say there was a grant out there for, like I said, like the walking track. Somebody's giving grants because they want everybody healthy. Okay. Well, the grant usually needs some kind of matching funds. So in the past here, we haven't been able to do anything because we don't have any money. But all of a sudden, say it was a grant for $500,000 to build the track, and we got another $500,000 from a solar company that wants to donate as a charitable contribution. Now all of a sudden, I have $1 million to build something, and not from this money. Now I can take that $1 million we had and use it for something else. So, but when you calculate the budget like that, you can't calculate money that you don't have yet.
Right,
But that doesn't mean we can't do a lot more.
just keeping that in mind.
Oh, yeah, oh, absolutely.
Well, it also, a paintball park, people would actually really like to rent it or have a birthday party or pizza delivered, that kind of thing. So there's rental opportunities that are part of that too. And we also even thought about a small snack shack or a concession stand, because that could actually generate revenue and it could generate jobs too, for the community. And people, obviously, if you're going to be playing paintball for a couple hours, you're going to want something to drink and eat and hang out for a while. So.
And like the city of Lancaster and Palmdale, you have the covered picnic areas. They're first come, first served, unless you rent it out, and then it's reserved. So you can, there's lots of things that can be done. And that's where we want to get to. So we're basically done, except there's more pizza, I guess. What do you guys do? Like, everybody take some pizza home?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's that?
yeah.
Unless Brent wanted 3 boxes.
I'll take that. No, I can't eat that. But, guys, this is what we've gotten to, is to try to provide the opportunity. It's kind of a long-term look at the future of your community, and that's why this is so important. This vote, you will have your opportunity, and however it goes forward, and I think it's the time to decide. And so there's a process that will happen that goes before the board. It doesn't stop here. Just because we all decide, hey, we ought to go with this option or that option, there's a number of things that still have to happen. The board's got to take some very specific actions to move in a very deliberate way to get to a place where it can be a vote for people, and that'll be what's next, is rolling out those pieces.
Right, so board meeting wise, which are always open to the public, this last meeting, we're the first and third Thursday of the month at the board meetings. 7 o'clock is when the general board meeting is. Adina's going to come and give that presentation that she gave you to talk about the funding mechanisms. The board members are going to have a lot more detailed questions because we have to sign resolutions, we have to pay engineers for certain ones. There's a lot more stuff involved for the board to make decisions. They're not going to decide on the funding mechanism on the next meeting. The first meeting in November, we're planning on basically bringing what we brought to you and saying, these are 4 options that we put together that we think might be successful. More than likely, staff is going to suggest one of them. And we're going to say, we think, after doing the polling, after talking to the political people on balloting, after looking at all the different options, listening to all the community, we think option X will be successful. And we're going to make a recommendation, but that doesn't mean the board votes for that. They might go, you know what, let's go for the whole kit and caboodle, or let's go for something less, or let's go for something more. And they're going to vote, and they're going to put that together, and then they're going to, we're going to do resolution and everything, and then we're going to be taking it to a vote of the people. So you'll get ballots in the mail, you'll probably get some literature in the mail explaining things, and then the people get a vote. And that's what the board has wanted. The board has said, let's take it to the people. In your first meeting right back in August through June,
Yeah.
the public said, let the people decide,
After plenty
or
of
close the pools.
spirited discussion, we finally got around to let's let the people decide on it, so we'll just keep driving for it. So you're being a part of it, you're moving the community along, we really, really, really appreciate it.
We really appreciate all the input that everybody had. I think it was good conversations. We learned a lot as we went through the process, and I think that makes us more successful when we get to the ballot box, because everybody's had an opportunity, and they're still gonna have an opportunity. We got stuff on the website, we'll be sending out stuff in the mail. Like I said, there'll be a phone poll where we're calling people, voters, and saying, you know, what do you think? What are you willing to?
Anything else before we close? Please take some pizza. Thank you. Make sure I'll go around and you can give me your ballot if you don't mind, or your preference. Thank you, sir. How are you? Good?